Hello, dear friend. You are watching your weekly horoscope for May the 17th through the 23rd. The most important this week is that Saturn is turning retrograde. It happens on Sunday, but before that, we are in what's called a stationary phase. Basically, the closer we get towards the end of the week, the more stationary Saturn will be. And of course, it will change the way we feel, the way things happen around us. And it's always nice to be prepared, especially if we talk about Saturn, because Saturn can bring lots of delays. Saturn can make us feel kind of stuck or like we are not moving forward, or sometimes it might feel overwhelming. And perhaps you have heard about the retrograde phases of the planets, especially Mercury retrograde. And with Mercury and the other personal planets, when they are retrograde, we are paying attention to the whole period when the planet is retrograde. With social and outer planets, just like Saturn, we don't pay attention to the whole period. I mean that it's not necessarily a difficult period when Saturn is retrograde, because actually that's for a couple of months each year. So more or less that's more usual. But the time when the shift happens is actually the most challenging time, right at the beginning and right at the end. So especially the weekend may feel a little bit more challenging for us. And as I said, the closer we get towards the end of the week, the more we may feel like things are slowing down, like we need more time, or there are delays, or we feel a little bit stuck. Again, that's completely normal. Don't stress too much about it. And just bring your awareness that things may require more time. It's not your fault. It's not you who are not doing things right, or you are not progressing fast enough. Those are regular, normal phases that we just need to get through. And it's actually kind of smart if you are planning your activities, your projects according to the energy. So if there is something that you want to handle with really fast, perhaps it's not the best time, especially when we get closer to the weekend. And everything that requires patience and consistency and logic, well, that's actually something positive to focus on. But again, keeping in mind that it will take its time and it might feel overwhelming. The other big news for this week is the ingression of the sun. On Thursday, the sun will move to Gemini, which overall changes the atmosphere for the next 1 month. And recently, for the last couple of weeks, we have the sun in Taurus, which is a very good, stable, kind of grounding energy. It's wonderful if you need to become more aware of what's happening around you, to be more present, and also to be more consistent and patient. But that's changing because we will have more of the Gemini energy. And Venus and Mercury are already there, so we already have some presence of this energy. Now, when the sun moves there as well, it will bring even more of this energy, of the Gemini energy, which means focus more on intellectual work, ideas, connections, communication. Also, it's a great time for planning, for traveling, for coming up with new solutions and new ideas, and overall for being more flexible. That's one of the major differences between Taurus and Gemini. Taurus can be a very stable but also rigid sign. On the other side, Gemini is pretty inconsistent, but also really flexible. So I think it's up to us how we are using this energy. And obviously, it comes with some positives and some challenges. But again, the more creative you are, the better you can handle with those energies. And the creative approach for the next 1 month is through flexibility, through connecting with your ideas and finding ways to implement them, and overall establishing better connections with other people and different things in your life as well. So one of the major themes for the following month is flexibility. But keep in mind that it might be a little bit early this week to feel this entirely, mostly because of the retrograde, or actually the stationary phase of Saturn. So after Thursday, the sun moves to Gemini, but we are kind of in the middle of the stationary phase of Saturn. So we may feel the desire to be more flexible or creative, but at first it might be challenging. So again, bring your awareness, keep that in mind. And of course, like everything else, this stationary phase of Saturn will pass. And the following week, especially towards the end of it, might bring more of this flexibility and ideas. Now, let's check the days of the week. As usual, we will talk about each day separately. Keep in mind that on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram account, we are posting the daily horoscopes in stories, so you can always go back and check what's the energy like, and of course, remind yourself what you can expect of the day. So, starting with Monday, we are having a very positive aspect between the Sun and Pluto. It triggers the earth signs. So if you are also an earth sign, perhaps you can benefit even more from this aspect. And all the other signs as well, when it comes to something practical, when it comes to something concrete that you want to materialize, if you need to be more focused, dedicated, more passionate about something, this aspect is especially beneficial. It's great for business, work, financial projects, investments, and any other area which requires more confidence, more empowerment, and more dedication. The other interesting aspect is between Venus and the North Node. Venus will be in exact conjunction with the North Node on Monday, which overall brings the focus to relationships, love, emotional stuff, but also it's kind of like helping us to focus on the future in certain way. What is it that you really want to experience in your personal life in the future? And it's also about kind of like bringing more logical approach, or looking at things from a more objective perspective, because it's the sign of Gemini that's triggered. And Gemini is a mental sign. Gemini is a sign which can evaluate and look at things from each side, and also look at the details of every situation. So it's a nice time to concentrate on relationships, on financial goals as well, and also anything that has to do with communication. The moon in Leo is pretty supportive because it encourages us to be more independent, also to be more creative, more spontaneous, perhaps also a little bit more dramatic. But with the other positive energies, I think that it will be more like a passion, not so much, like the drama queen that sometimes we may kind of like represent. So overall, Monday is a pretty positive, productive day. Then on Tuesday, we have a couple of things happening simultaneously. So The good news is that there is a supportive aspect between Venus and Uranus. And this aspect can bring some surprises, some nice changes, some creative opportunities, especially for creative work, or even when it comes to connecting with other people. But Venus also has one challenging aspect with Pluto, which can make us a little bit melodramatic, or we can exaggerate certain things, or we may kind of like suffer for something even when there isn't much point in that. So keep in mind that when it comes to relationships, people might be oversensitive, or there might be some control issues or some kind of manipulations at times. So we need to be more careful with that area. And when it comes to financial decisions, we may also be either more emotional, or we may take certain risks which are not necessarily appropriate. So the situation is kind of like in the middle, because from one side, Venus has a positive aspect with Uranus, but there's also this challenging one with Pluto. So things are not necessarily bad, but it depends on us how we use this energy. Mars also has a challenging aspect with Jupiter, which can make us a little bit less productive, because we may focus on too many things, or we may not have a good focus, or sometimes we may just overestimate what we can achieve over one day. This aspect, on the other side, is positive for reconsidering, reevaluating your goals, and changing something about them. The moon is in Leo, which brings the focus to ourselves, to the things that we are passionate about. But with the other energies, sometimes it can make us more melodramatic, as I said. And also, we may take everything too personally, and that can bring certain discomfort. So on Tuesday, I guess the most important is to take control over our emotions. If we do that, then the day might be completely different for us. Then on Wednesday, we will have a pretty productive and positive day. A great aspect between Venus and Saturn, which really helps with emotional control and also more stability when it comes to relationships or negotiations or even financial decisions. This aspect is also pretty beneficial for some kind of community work or group projects, and also for being more reasonable about the choices we make, about the decisions we make. Mercury also has a great aspect with Pluto, and this can help with being more dedicated to the projects we have in work. This can be great in communication. We may feel more empowered, we might be more influential, especially when it comes to verbal expression, communication, and connections with other people. The moon is in Leo until 5 p.m., so we can be more creative, more spontaneous. It's a great time just to enjoy the things that you are doing, to be more independent. And after 5 p.m., the moon will shift to Virgo. Overall, it helps with a more practical approach, with being more focused on details and work, and be really pragmatic about the decisions we make. On Thursday, the sun will move to Gemini. We already talked about this one. So for the following month, we have more flexibility, potentially more inconsistency to handle with, and also a great time for ideas and implementing those ideas and learning how to be more present and learning how to manage your thoughts. That's one of the biggest things we can do to really transform our lives. And when the sun is in Gemini, it's an amazing time to really focus on your mind. Also, the moon is in Virgo on Thursday, which kind of emphasizes the influence of Mercury. After all, Virgo and Gemini are the two signs ruled by Mercury. So lots of focus to the mind, to our ideas, and overall a pretty productive combination. So be more present, focus on the details, evaluate things from every point of view, and also be careful with the possible criticism, with perfectionism, and paying too much unnecessary attention to the details. Then on Friday, we have a challenging aspect between the Sun and Jupiter. This combination is not necessarily bad or problematic, but it brings certain discomfort because we may focus on many things. We can kind of like lose our focus. We may feel unappreciated. We may feel like we are not moving forward as fast as we want to. It's like our goals are somewhere in the future and we can't seem to approach them. So that's pretty normal. Also keeping in mind that we are very close to the retrograde phase of Saturn. So that's already in the eye of the stationary phase. So Friday is not necessarily a very productive day, and we may feel frustrated with the results we have, or we may need to put extra effort in order to achieve our goals. And I'm not saying that this is something bad. Sometimes there are things that really require extra effort, and that's completely normal. The moon is in Libra, which brings more focus to relationships and love and connection and communication and trying to find balance and harmony in our lives. So overall, if you focus on your relationships and personal life instead of pursuing too much some long-term goals, that will probably make you feel better. Then on Saturday, we have a challenging aspect between Mercury and Neptune. This aspect can bring some confusion, lack of concentration. We may forget something. We can make some mistakes. There might be some inaccurate information, or frankly, sometimes there might be lies in our life, when we connect with someone. So be careful with communication, with connection with friends, with your plans. If you have some details you need to be careful with. And overall, usually in business, this is not a very productive time unless you are focusing on something creative, something which requires more inspiration, more intuition, more creativity. Then the aspect actually may turn into something really positive, especially if you are ready to commit and do the work. But again, I want to remind you that on the very next day, on Sunday, Saturn will turn retrograde. So it's pretty normal if you feel like you are kind of in a fog and it's confusing and you can't get things really fast or you don't understand something. It's all really normal. The moon is in Libra, which means that we can focus on relationships and finding balance and politeness and kindness, and that's a pretty good idea for Saturday. And finally, on Sunday, we have this event that I already mentioned, I guess at least 5 times, Saturn turning retrograde in Aquarius. So Saturn is really, really slow. Actually, it's stopping at this point. And it's pretty normal if you feel like you are also stopping in certain way. So the best thing you can do is give yourself some time and space to relax and to feel the boundaries. Saturn really likes boundaries. And sometimes boundaries may actually feel like limitations. And sometimes it might be difficult to tell the difference, what's limitation and what is a healthy boundary. So it's a very nice time to explore this. So my advice is really to not put too many things on your plate. Don't try to accomplish too many things on Sunday, but instead use this time for self-reflection, for giving yourself the time and the space that you need, maybe to relax or to process something, and just to find inner balance. The moon is in Libra, which again brings the focus to balance and harmony. And I think that that's a pretty nice combination to try to find the balance between limitations and boundaries. So things are always happening in the best possible way for us to learn from them. So the moon position really helps us to see what we can focus on and how we can incorporate this energy in our experience, the energy of the other aspects that are happening. So with that, my friends, we covered this weekly horoscope. If you want to learn more about how to use the energy of the moon with new moons, full moons, signs of the moon, also lunar returns, check out my course on moon predictions. You will find the link below. You can also check the other courses which are available, like the Karmic Astrology course. It's a great one if you need to understand your life and how your past is affecting you, and really explore those blind spots that frankly we all have. Thank you so much again for joining me. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and don't forget also to check my Instagram account. You can find the stories with the daily horoscopes. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon.